Murderer.
Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins is the strongest attempt yet to spin franchise gold out of Hasbro's legendary action figure line. Armed with a gritty, street-level aesthetic in service of its world-building, Snake Eyes feels as indebted to Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins as it does its comic book source material. It gives a beloved character a well-deserved spotlight while effectively teasing what lies beyond the origin story. Snake Eyes takes most of its inspiration from an 80s Marvel comic run, but it also freely forges its own path in a way that feels both familiar and fresh. The essential ingredient is an air of encroaching destiny, as the various plotlines intersect with Snake Eyes, played by Crazy Rich Asians heartthrob Henry Golding. By the movie's end, friendships have been forged, allegiances have been flipped, and the way forward is clear for further Joe escapades. Or even more Origins movies, should the desire arise. Golding makes a solid entrance as an action-leading man in what could have been a thankless part. This is a far cry from when Ray Park played Snake Eyes in 2009's G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, with his face entirely hidden behind a mask and visor. But Golding does a good job imbuing Snake Eyes with requisite pathos while adding enough of an edge so his true motivations are never entirely clear. It's a swerve from his prior depictions, but it feels like there's room to grow yet in his journey before becoming the iconic mutant ninja familiar to longtime fans. Meanwhile, Andrew Koji, who previously impressed on the Cinemax series Warrior, liked 2011's X-Men First Class and its depiction of the early bromance between Professor X and Magneto, Snake Eyes makes us care enough about the forged in fire friendship between Snake Eyes and Tommy that there's a twinge of sadness when the needs of the larger mythology take over. Speaking of that mythology, both Samara Weaving and Ursula Corbero effortlessly embody their alter egos as G.I. Joe Scarlet and Cobra's Baroness respectively. Although their screen time is limited, their presence offers a tantalizing tease of the unfolding fight for freedom happening just outside the frames of Snake Eyes. Even those stakes, though, are significantly dialed down from the previous G.I. Joe movies, focusing more on the impactful story of a family and friendship rather than saving the world. While all of that works wonderfully, there are some failings in director Robert Schwentke's approach to the action. It's often underlit and over-reliant on shaky cam. As a result, the fight scenes have a tendency to be confusing or disorienting. There's also a narrative leap in the third act into hard fantasy that does feel a little out of place when compared with the relatively grounded first two-thirds. Nonetheless, because of strong character work throughout, the story holds together. Snake Eyes forgoes a large cast and world-ending stakes in favor of a narrower, more personal story with the broader G.I. Joe conflict existing around its edges. It's an entirely sensible approach, one that gives stars Henry Golding and Andrew Koji time to shine. Despite some disappointments in the action scenes, Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins is an admirable attempt to give a well-deserving franchise another at-bat. For more, check out our reviews of Black Widow and the Tomorrow War, and for everything else, keep it here on IGN.
I'm on a new level.
I need warriors like you. Join us.
What do I have to do?